Hi everyone, this is OGV Energy Live, brought to you today in association with Crux Digital Transformation Consultants. Wherever you are in the world, welcome. We are broadcasting to you live here from Aberdeen, and I was planning on telling you that it was lovely weather, a little bit brisk and cold with bright skies, but we're now going between bright skies and sleet here in Aberdeen. I hope the weather is better where you are. My name is Eric Doyle. This is our decommissioning edition. We are broadcasting across the many channels of the metaverse today, bringing you the very latest news and insight from across the energy sector. And we do that by bringing to life the OGV Energy magazine. If you're a regular viewer, it's great to have you with us again. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm just going to put the chat on so that I can see who is with us. If you're new to the show, each month we feature interviews and discussions with our partners from across the publication and across wide ranges of the energy sector to update you on all the latest news and opinions on a very specific topic. This month is all about decommissioning. And you have the chance to ask questions or post comments. The best question or comment of the day will receive a free half-page advert or editorial in a future edition of OGV Energy magazine. So don't be shy. Say hi, just like Andrew Slesser has done it. I'm just going to show you exactly what we can do. Andrew is now in the spotlight. Tell us where you are in the world. Say hello. Tell us who you work for, which geographic region you're in, and are you involved in decommissioning? And tell us what you're all about. That's what this show is all about. Today we're going to explore and unpack the very latest in the world of decom. We're going to be meeting some very special people at the leading edge in this space within our industry today. Coming up in our industry spotlight feature today, if the gods of technology and firewalls permit, we are going to have John Anderson, Commercial Director of Wells from Exceed, with us today, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're hoping that happens. We're also going to be checking in with Michael O'Neill, Business Development Lead at Decom Engineering. Then we're going to head over to meet Yvonne Telford. Yvonne's first time on the show, but we've had Westwood Global Energy Group here many times. Yvonne is the Research Director for Northwest Europe on Energy Market Intelligence at Westwood, and she's going to be updating us on all of our markets. And then we're going to be dropping in, some would say the Star Act. I don't know, that's debatable. Brittany Uwe, Head of Business Development at Elemental Energies, for some really interesting updates on women in decommissioning. So lots to cover. And remember to keep your questions and comments coming in. Tell us where you are. Say hi. It's always nice. And everyone gets a shout out on this show. But first to our headline guest today with decades of experience. Some would say millennia of experience at the sharp end of the decommissioning space. Now Operations Director at Decommission, coming to us live from Mexico. I was hoping to say that he was going loco down in Acapulco, but he's not in Acapulco. Please welcome Callum Falconer. Callum, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Some introduction that was. Thank you.
It was some introduction. It really was, wasn't it? Absolutely.
I must be really, really old.
So you are, the last time we spoke to you, you were coming from a rather dreich, maybe Dundee or Aberdeen, but you're in more exotic climes today, right? You're in Mexico. What takes you there?
This is my second home.
This is your
from
casa.
Time to time. Sam thinks I work here, but I play golf and play.
Very good, very good. Well, we don't care where you are in the world. We're just happy to have you, and thanks for getting up so early to be with us today.
Yeah.
As I said before, almost
really just light.
Yeah, absolutely, just light. You're still on your orange juice. You've still got the scrambled egg at the corner.
It's here, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning and happy breakfast. Now, a long time in decommissioning at the sharp end on major projects and all of that. Now working with the team, the leadership team at Decommission. Am I right in saying that you're the only global trade body in the international energy sector fully focused on decommissioning? Is that right?
That would be correct. Yes.
And for those who don't know, what's the history and how did all this come about? Where did it start?
Well, we started off as Decom North Sea 2009. Brian Nixon, our CEO, kicked us off in 2009. It took a while for decommissioning to get going, to be honest. It was always something that was going to happen in the future. And then it cranked up quite, because around about 2015, 16, things started to happen, Eric. So then, it became clear about when Sam Long came to us as CEO, it became clear that decommissioning had expanded. It was certainly an international play. Certainly, Gulf of Mexico was mature, but it started to emerge Africa, Asia, Australia. And so we felt that we needed to expand internationally. A lot of our members who had invested in decommissioning in the UK actually found fame and fortune overseas rather than the UK. So they expanded their portfolio internationally. In addition, it was clear that renewables decommissioning was something which was on the horizon. It feels now for renewables where we were in 2015 that it's about, there's a few years and it's really going to crank up renewables decommissioning, and it's very likely that the same supply chain that are going to decommission oil and gas will actually decommission renewables. That kind of makes sense. So the other thing that we expanded into was nuclear. Nuclear has been a monopoly for years. Nuclear NDA, Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, feel that oil and gas supply chain can help them. There's a suspicion from the oil and gas supply chain that they can't. So we're going to try and sort of ease and grease that interface as well if we can. So we're now that we've moved internationally, we've moved into nuclear, we've moved into renewables. So we felt that we had to change the color of the bus.
So you reinvented yourselves from Decom North Sea into Decommission as you are now.
Yeah, so the North Sea bit didn't work. Okay, obviously, so we had to do something else. So we just decided to completely rebrand. We become Decommission. We've got new colors, and we're off. And our members like our new look. They like our new direction. The organization is stable. We've got a great team. We're all very focused. It looks like we probably add somebody else. We probably add either a graduate or somebody else to the team this year. So it's all good.
It is all good. It is absolutely all good. From when you started your career, I did say decades ago, millennia ago. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so long ago, I forget.
Yeah. What would you say is the most considerable area that you've noticed that we've really, really advanced in the decom world? What's from when you were running projects back 10 years ago, decommissioning projects, to the way that we decom today? What is the most significant thing that stands out as a difference or a significant improvement?
I think operators are, as an ex-operator, I was with Marathon Oil for nearly 30 years, and we tended to hold on to everything. That you got to remember in an operator, reputation is everything. Okay, so when you're executing projects, you have to be front and center of every project that you're in, and we did that with decommissioning. I'm beginning to see the operators begin to realize that they actually don't do decommissioning. They've never done decommissioning, and therefore allowing the supply chain a little bit more leeway, going to the supply chain with the problem rather than the answer, allowing the supply chain to use their innovation and their fresh thinking into doing something differently. That's beginning to emerge now. I think that's something which is quite prevalent at Gulf of Mexico, that they do it that way, and I think we're beginning to learn to do things differently. It's not been, to be honest, Eric, it's not been really, there's not been a huge difference in the way we do things. It's beginning to look slightly different now.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Let's just say hi to some of the people that are watching. As Andrew, Beth, Willem, Les. Hi to Khalil, Roy, Nina, and Kevin. Thank you very much for joining us today. And we have other people watching on other channels. If you have a question for Callum, we've only got him for a wee while longer, and he cost a fortune. So let's make sure we get the best out of him. Any questions or comments on what Callum's saying throughout this, please jump in. We'd love to put your question to him live on air. So from the origins and the beginnings of Decom North Sea through to Decommission, what's happened in that period to give you the indicators that this is going well, going right?
Okay, so internationally, let's go there first. Sam's been to the conference in Australia, in Perth, Australia, twice. This year, while he was there, he was asked by the Department of Business and Trade on their coin to visit Asia. He went to Jakarta and Kuala Lumpur. The brief was to look at the demand side of decommissioning. What is the demand? How is the supply chain set up? What is the gap between supply and demand? And what is the opportunity that the UK supply chain might have in that region? So that's something that was the DBT giving us paid work to. So that's different, yeah, for sure. I've been to the DNA conference in Houston twice. I was there just 3 weeks ago. It was clear we had a safety event a few weeks ago, Eric, in the Chester. And when I went to Houston a few weeks ago, I was approached by a few people to say, "Wow, we heard you had a great safety meeting in Aberdeen. Can we have one here?" So I spoke to the regulator in Houston and some of the operators in Houston, and we are seriously looking at running a safety event in Houston, probably in September. So these indicators now that we're really beginning to stretch internationally and become relevant and current in these areas.
Very good, very good, very good indeed. Yeah, if people are watching from other continents and other regions, then there's something really good happening here. So that safety event that you had at the Chester was clearly a decommissioning focused safety event, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And then in the renewables space, we have had a major developer join decommission, and recently I was asked to attend a renewables decommissioning workshop in London. That's sponsored by Lloyd's Register. So again, we have the reputation of being able to contribute to these types of events, Eric. And in nuclear, we have an arrangement with the NDA where we have specific deliverables which they expect from us. So,
very good.
But it's one thing to say that we're in these areas, but actually, the reality is that we are actually contributing significantly in all of these areas, which is really good.
It is truly fantastic. Now, we mentioned the safety focused event, the decommission safety focused event. One of the most exciting events in the DECOM calendar is approaching fast. Decommission's DECOM Week, with your headline Scalise, 20th to the 24th of May. What can we expect this year? Because you're trying to break the mold on the traditional event, right?
We are a wee bit. So let me start off with what's the same, just to disappoint you. Same venue, Ardell House. Same fun stuff. We do golf at the beginning, and we do walking and cycling at the end. And we're having an awards dinner. So that's the awards dinner is on the Tuesday night, and we've got Bob Keeler as a pre-dinner speaker there. What's different? We're having a wells forum on the Tuesday afternoon. This will be a largely non-technical forum. Technical well P&A is covered by SPE in our conference, I think, in June, and we really don't want to park our tanks on their lawn. So we're largely having a non-technical open discussion. It's been sponsored and curated by NSTA. Right. So thanks for these guys. So they're setting it up. There's a few things that industry needs to discuss in the well P&A space, and so the Tuesday afternoon will be discussing that. The other thing that is different is our speakers. We've got Mark McBride-Wright, who's a diversity champion, Eric. Right. He'll be speaking, and he'll also be running a workshop with our emerging professionals and women in DECOM. And we've got a speaker talking about that, so I'm not going to steal her thunder on that. So
yeah, Brittany will be with us at the end of the
Brittany's
show.
Going to be Brittany will be front and center of that particular discussion as well. So that's Mark McBride-Wright. We've also got Kurt Lindley. Kurt is a motivational performance improvement coach. He'll be speaking, and he'll be running a workshop, which I believe will involve Lego. And we all love Lego, don't we?
We love Lego.
So that's different. So that's we're really trying to put a different feel on this. That we are definitely playing the diversity card this year. I think that's the right thing to do. and the women in decom and the emerging professionals and all of that, that will come together. We're having a Dragon's Den session as well. So there'll be people giving a 2-minute pitch on their idea.
Right.
There'll be a panel, giving them a good grilling, and the audience will vote, and the winner will get nothing, I believe. Maybe we should give them Lego.
Lego.
There's an idea.
100%. So you've got lots going on. Very exciting couple of days. Ardo House, 20th to 24th of May. Am I right in saying that all your sort of exhibitors and people that's all sold out? But
I think there's a couple of seats left at the dinner. I think the exhibition space is sold out, or has been sold out for a long time. There's outside exhibition as well. I think that's sold out. So we're beginning to sell tickets. So the other thing we're having as well is one-to-ones with them. That's always useful. One-to-ones with what we would call meet the buyer. So it's decision makers from the primary contractors. So the folks will get a chance to have 10 minutes one-to-one with these guys. So that's always popular. It's usually subscribed. It's usually stacked out well in advance. So
very good, very good. And we've also heard whisper that you'll be launching your first annual report. Is that correct?
We are going to do that indeed. Yeah, we have one of our members, Empiricist, who helped us with that. Survey went out several months ago. We've collated all the results. We'll probably, the annual report has to be a statement from the team on what we are doing. Yeah. Why we exist, what we do for our members. That's super important. And we'll also give a little bit of an overview of the survey that Empiricist did. So.
Any teasers that you're able to share with us today?
No. There's no surprises, Eric. The people are happy with the way that we approach safety, which is good, and environmental. Everybody's happy with that. Perhaps some concerns around the way that we contract between supply and demand, the usual sort of little nuggets that annoy people. So there's no surprises, but it's Sam and I quite often push our opinions at people. So rather than doing that, we've gone out to industry, so they will have their opinion on the state of decommissioning, rather than just Sam and myself.
So someone comes along and spends time with you, does the meet the buyer, comes to all the events, listens to the speakers and all of that, gets involved in all of the activities that are going on, and sucks up all that networking and all that knowledge that's been shared around. What do you, as the operations director of Decommission, what do you want people to leave on the 24th feeling about decommissioning?
I hope they'll have learned something that they can take back to their organizations, Eric. I think they feel that there's been time well spent. I hope that the exhibitors and the sponsors feel that they have that value for money, and that they'll want to come back next year. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. You can't ask for more than that. I ask all of our headliners on this show these sort of last couple of closing questions, because I'm interested in this sort of diversity of thought and perspectives on this. Callum Falconer, what does energy transition mean to you and mean to Decommission?
Can I leave now?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Energy transition. It's great, isn't it? That it's not a series of distinct events. You can't stop oil today. If you stop oil, we stop living. So we certainly have to reduce our dependence on hydrocarbons. People talk about restricting supply. We have to restrict demand. That's where if we just restrict demand and then replace it with something else, then there'll be a natural progression away from hydrocarbons to something else. Is hydrogen the answer? I'm not sure. Hydrogen needs either methane or electricity. So as a consumer, you can only feel that turning one energy into another energy is going to cost you more. So I'm not sure about hydrogen. Electricity seems to be the way forward. So it's a tricky one. There's not a silver bullet here, Eric. There are targets set for decarbonisation. That's the right thing to do for sure. Is there evidence that we're going to meet these targets? Not sure.
And as an industry professional that's been around for let's say a
hundreds of years, apparently. Eric. Yeah.
Hundreds of years. What are your hopes for the future of the energy industry? You joined in the heyday. You've seen ups and downs, sort of minor ups and downs. We're in a bit of an uncertain period. What are your hopes for the energy industry moving forward?
There are people issues, which I don't think is just for the energy industry, around skills, around appetite to join the energy industry. There doesn't seem to be the same appetite amongst graduates to join the oil industry. It appears that the oil industry now has a reputation of being a sort of dirty industry that you don't want to get involved in. But the energy industry needs young minds to come in to oil and gas now to move through into decommissioning. There will be carbon capture, has to be something which ramps up for sure. Renewables is big. Battery technology has to develop, as the energy progresses. What's out there in hydrogen? Hydrogen makes a lot of noise. I'm not sure there's a huge amount of investment going into hydrogen, but there has to be this flux of people with the right skills and the right, we probably need to reskill, upskill, have different types of courses at universities, for example, to recognize what's going to happen in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years time. So it's an interesting period. It's a real balance point that we're in energy right now, both in terms of the types of energy that we're developing and the people that we need to help us develop in that direction.
Very good. We are going to leave you and let you go. And I hear just in my right ear that there's an empanada with your name on it in the kitchen waiting for you. So
indeed.
Great. Good luck with the show. I guess we're going to see you at Ardo House 20th to 24th of May.
Yep.
For Decom Week, which we're fully supporting and hoping that is a brilliant event. Good luck with the annual report and everything around the show. I guess for anyone here, they can find out about Decom Week on the website. They can go in there and sign up. So good luck to you in all that you're doing. Safe travels home to Bonnie, Scotland when it comes. And we will see you again.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye.
Wasn't that great? Wasn't that absolutely lovely? We are now going to shift from our headline speaker. And remember to reach out if you want to extend the conversation on anything that Callum was talking about, find out a bit more about it. You can connect with Callum directly, or you can go to the website and catch it. I see there's a question just come in for him, and he's just left to go and finish his breakfast in Mexico. But Willem's asked a great question, so maybe we'll get Callum to answer that in the comments when he's still there. We are going to shift now to our section of the show called Industry Spotlight, where we feature several organizations who are very active in the space, very active commercially and operationally in the decommissioning space. I'm holding my breath here, and I'm hoping that, in fact, I'm going to go first. I'm going to see if we've got John Anderson, Commercial Director of Wells at Exceed Energy. John, did we get you?
Hopefully.
You are here.
Yeah.
You're resplendent in all these colors.
IT issues always produce a bit of creative tension, so it's nice that we've made it.
We are here, and you are here, and we're super glad that you made it. And we're also going to bring on Michael O'Neill, Business Development Lead at Decommissioning. Michael, are you here? You are.
I'm here, Eric. Thanks very much. Thanks for having us.
I'm going to put myself in my rightful position, which is at the bottom of the pile here, so that you guys are on top. There we go. That is it. I'm thrilled that we made it, because there were some tense moments there, Mr. Anderson. We didn't think we were going to have you, but we're pleased to have you here. We're going to start with you, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So Exceed Energy, a name that's been around for a very long time. Lots of people will be familiar with the brand and what the company is all about. But for those who are not, could you just give us a wee summary on what Exceed's focus is these days?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm commercial director at Exceed. We are an engineering consultancy, a well management company. So if you like, an outsourced wells department, to put it in simple terms, well architects, if you like. So we plan, project manage everything to do with wells, starting with subsurface through well construction, production optimization, intervention, well integrity, right through to what we're talking about today, which is well decommissioning. We work in the UK, but also are very much internationally focused, particularly in deep water, remote location environments. So to give you an example, right now we've got a couple of rigs running for operators, one up in the northern North Sea for Serica, abandoning wells in the Keith field up there. But we've also just finished drilling a couple of new wells for Galp down in Namibia. So it's a real sort of international spread.
A real broad spectrum geographic spread. John, you've been in the industry for quite a time. You've been involved in some significant stuff. What's the biggest and most profound change that you've seen in how we worked back in the day and how we work today? What's the biggest thumping change?
Yeah. Sadly, I am in a position to answer that. One day you're the new kid on the block, and then you wake up one day and you're a veteran.
Yes,
That's a grey hair and nay hair, as we would say.
that could be the title of our new book.
Absolutely. Hey, technology obviously has changed hugely. Knowledge, ways of working, etc. But for me, um, I think IT communications actually is a huge part of what's changed. It's funny actually. This morning I was, hence the reason it was a bit of a rush earlier. I was doing a media response training, and the last time I did it was about 10, maybe 15 years ago. And the change in that and what we've got to consider now sort of links into the change in how we work. Then 15 years ago, the media was the guy with a notepad or the guy with a camera doorstepping you to ask about something that had happened. Nowadays, everyone is the media because they've all got phones, they've all got cameras. So you've got to be very aware of that. And if I think back, roundabout, I started in 98. So then, I'm a well site drilling engineer around about 2000 working out in Qatar. We didn't have internet access. We didn't have email. The tool pusher was able to connect to the phone once or connect the phone to the computer once a day or twice a day to upload and download emails, and that was as far as IT went. Nowadays, particularly sort of post-COVID, things like that. A lot of what we do is remote. Now, we were fairly fortunate because we work in remote locations, international locations. We've always had sort of cloud-based and Zooms and things like that. So we're able to transition through COVID pretty well. In fact, we had a couple of well operations, but the fact that we can now run wells and have people in multiple sites all gathered together via cloud-based systems, communications, etc. I think that is one of the great things and the great advancements of where we've came from, and the fact that if you need specialist help, you can dial it in a heartbeat and have them on the line, have them involved as well. And there's also other things when we are reviewing old end of well reports, particularly if we're putting information into well integrity systems. There's now bots that go out into those end of well reports, pull in all the information and populate it. Whereas once, that as a young engineer, that was your job, go and do that,
Yes.
and get what you have. So yeah, and I see, I think with AI and things like that, that will soon become the norm of that's what pulls in lessons learned from wells, not just the ones that you've drilled, but perhaps or decommissioned, but with other information that's out there in the world, they will be able to find it and bring it to you.
Love it. Absolutely, absolutely right. It's an amazing time to be alive and seeing what we used to take for granted as in that sort of manual, hard processes now being made super easy and super efficient with digital. I do have a funny story which harks back to what you were talking about, doing things sort of manually and collecting stuff. Being offshore in the 90s, I was rig electrician on a drilling rig. I worked with Diamond Offshore, and all the drillers had been asked to start putting their shift reports into the computer, and there was one who was resisting, who was in his sort of 60s and not really feeling this. But the tool pusher, a rig superintendent, put the hammer down and said, "You need to do it. You need to do it, George. You need to get in there and put your." So one night at midnight, I was walking past the office and I heard, I can't. The air was blue with language, and I walked in, and this is a true story. What is the problem? What's wrong? And he said, "I'm trying to do this computer thing. It's telling me to do something. I can see the caps lock. I can see control. I can see insert, but I can't see any key. And it says press the any key." I'm here all week, folks. I'm here all week.
Brilliant.
I'm here all week. John, your article in this month's OGV Energy magazine tells us that over 50% of your project activity in the last 12 months has come from energy transition related operations, and much of that is focused on decommissioning. Tell us a wee bit about the kind of stuff you've been doing.
Yeah. Really, so as a well management company, everything we do in decommissioning is about the well, but there's many different ways of doing that. So as I mentioned earlier, we were involved up north on the Keith well abandonments just now, which and again this sort of goes to technology and items like that. So we went up there a couple of years ago with a vessel to do some vessel-based well abandonment, another arm of what we do. It's not just for rigs, it's rigless, platform, everything. And there's two wellheads. So the Keith field had been bought by Serica, which had been formerly owned by BP, back to sort of Hamilton Brothers, and one of these assets that had went through multiple ownerships over the years. And when Serica bought the asset, there was a BP report, boom, said, this is all the information on these wells. These two we're not sure about. There's almost like the post-it note in it saying, sorry, don't know.
Yep.
So when we were up there with the vessel, we used laser survey technology to take a survey of these wellheads. We then got that back on shore. We then built mock-ups of the wellheads. So that we could take accurate measurements, and then went out and found a few wellhead connectors that were sitting in farmers' fields with weeds growing out of them that had been used by the Hamilton brothers in 1979 or something like that. Got them refurbished, test connected it onshore, seemed to fit. Earlier this year, when we were back up doing some further well abandonment work with the installing environmental plugs, wellhead severance, etc., we test fitted that. And then we now we're up with a rig, and because we've done all that work, did all that proprietary work, we were able to run the BOP on first time, and there was a collective sort of holding of breath.
Yep.
The connector fitted and it held pressure, and it was, and it worked. So that's the sort of stuff that the guys that we have here, there's many folk at Exceed who only want to do decommissioning, and that's because it's such a challenge. There's so many problems to overcome. It's not like a new well where it's a blank piece of paper and you have a start point and you have an end point. With decommissioning, when you sort of open up the can and have a look inside, that's when you really know what the condition is and how it's going to work or not work, and
Yep.
what you need to overcome those challenges. So very varied in what we're doing, and it's very, very interesting work.
You also talk about and you've kind of alluded to it throughout your answers so far, but you talk about in the article the need for and the benefits of collaboration with partners and, across the industry. Have you got any examples of, good collaboration and how it's making things easier and more efficient?
Yeah, it's always been my opinion that collaboration in the supply chain is actually easier to put together than operators trying to put collaborative agreements together, because I think there's a willingness to be more open and transparent between supply chain companies and really work together to present a solution. So an example would be, and you're right, I touched on it. So earlier in the year, we did the vessel-based work up on Keith with Deep Ocean, and that brought together our sort of wells expertise and their sort of vessel, and they've got a very sort of modern and varied fleet of vessels that can be the sort of right tool for the right job. So we enjoyed working together, both, fully had a lot of respect for each other's capabilities. So that has now been formalized into an agreement, and we're now bidding on work together to bring that sort of one-stop shop, if you like, vessel, well engineering capability, along with some trusted and proven contractors that excuse me, that provide the well services tools for that. So and vessel-based stuff is easy for operators to sort of package up and put to the side as a something with defined boundaries that could easily be outsourced. So that's real focus for us going forward.
Love it, love it. John, we'll come back to you in a little while. We'll circle back. I'm going to keep one of these questions about tech and innovation for both yourself and Michael. Michael, you've been sitting there patiently. Thank you so much for your patience.
Yeah.
Enjoying the show so far?
Yeah, it's fantastic. First OGV live for me. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Hopefully the first of many. Hopefully,
yeah, absolutely. The decommissioning space is the place to be. So
it's the place to be, absolutely. So you are the clues in the title with your organization, Decommissioning. You're set your stall out. This is what we're all about. We are Decommissioning. Tell us a wee bit about the company and what your specific focus is on decommissioning.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Michael O'Neill, and I'm the development lead now for North and South America. Previously, I've looked after the European markets, and we've worked with the likes of Deep Ocean and Exceed, and we've been involved with all these different people in the North Sea. So that challenge has been mine for the last year and a half. And what we do is decommissioning really is as simple as being approached by people in the industry, operators and contractors, coming to us with problems, and then we can tailor our tooling and our availability of options and our range of expertise within the company to actually deliver a tailored solution that meets these decommissioning requirements. So we found that being involved in decommissioning in the North Sea, while juggling projects in the Asia Pac, in Australia, and now pushing globally into the North and South American regions, where we're really building a strong reputation for ourselves in the clean cut and green cutting solution market.
Very good. You talk about that green cut and green decommissioning is all through, it's through your website, it's through your material, and it's a real strong vein. Tell us what you mean by green decommissioning.
Yeah, absolutely. So the big thing that we really push is there's two sides to our business. The side that I focus on primarily is in the cutting side, so the chop saw cutting tool, so a fast, clean cutting tool that gives easy access to internals of pipe for cleaning and recycling. The real green impact of chop saw cutting is when we go offshore, our real goal is to, one, give higher cut reliability, and two, higher cut performance, so that we can go offshore, reduce the time that the vessels need to be on site for, which reduces on emissions from vessels and also saves the contractors and the operators money in the same breath. Once that pipe is clean cut, it can then be recovered back to shore. It can be managed safely on the quay side in manageable sections, then taken to the second side of the business, which is our pipe CRM, which is a coating removal machine. So we're basically taking back old, rusted, sea growth ridden pipe from the seabed onshore to work through our machine, and it just works like a lathe, and we use different levels of abrasion. pushes that piece of piping through, and it comes out like polished steel in the end. And the big push for us on the green side is we did a case study on this. We put together a really great document, which is available at the market, which shows that compared to the cost of manufacturing new virgin steel, we're actually reducing the carbon footprint in the emission side by up to 96% in that process.
So there's a bit of circular economy thinking there. Where can people get a hold of that report? That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, if it's best to email it directly to myself, so Michael at Decommissioning. I'm sure it'll be available online as well, and we can circulate that round. But it's so that we spent a lot of time on that, and it showed some really fantastic results.
Superb. I love that. That's brilliant. And I'm guessing from the type of industry that you're in and what you're doing in it, sort of leading the way with this, you've probably got some pretty decent milestone projects under your belt. Any you want to talk about specifically?
Absolutely, yeah. We've done so many projects now to date, from only really going live post-pandemic and sort of doing first projects in 2018, and then a little bit of a slowdown as things built. But it gave us the opportunity to really come together and build up a strong reputation and relationship with the contractors of the market. So we've done projects with the likes of Exceed in the Keith field, where we're there to support on some key cutting operations where other tooling in the market had failed. We've been air freighted into the Congo directly with an operator for a cut for a manifold that was on the seabed. There was a year to a year and a half lead time for this, and they had a need for it now. And the one that was on the seabed was perfectly usable, but they tried to cut at the ends of it, to clean cut it, try and get that lifted so that they could get it into the repurposing cycle. And they failed. The tooling that they had available failed. So they came to the market, came across us, and within a couple of days, we were in a position where we mobilized, we air freighted into country, and we actually completed that cut on Christmas Day last year. So it was a huge sort of achievement project for us. It was a testament to how quickly we can actually get these things done, how reliable the team are at Decommissioning. So that was a huge win for us. And even more so lately, we developed new tooling for the Brent fields with our C146 chop saw, which can cut large pipelines up to 46 inches. So this was a huge project for us, and it really relied on the confidence and commitment from the operators and the contractors to really come to us and trust us to develop something that was custom built, no experience in that exactly, to go out and deliver. And we were happy to say we managed to get offshore and perform cuts on that project, which was
I love it.
huge for us.
Christmas Day, bittersweet for the technicians, good for their bank balance, not so good for Santa and turkey legs and all of that. Yeah, missing
Yeah,
out.
well, like I say, we keep the guys all very well looked after, just to make sure we do this and like I say, making sure we've got the best engineers that we can supply as well.
I love the fact, and I hope you appreciate this in the tone that it's meant, that you speak with such eloquence about this industry, because you represent something that we need more of in this industry. You have transitioned from another industry, completely unrelated, into the energy sector, the energy services sector. How are you finding it?
It's fantastic. And to kind of pull on what John and Callum have spoken about previously, the guys have got such a wealth of experience in the actual offshore industry, whereas decommissioning is all I know. This is where I've came into, it's where I've been introduced to, and I'm coming into this fresh and new, and this is now an exciting place to be on and a really, really great platform to work with. And what we're actually seeing, even from when I first started, and the phrase of dirty decom was sort of on the go, but that mindset has completely changed in the last year to a year and a half. And we're finding that the excitement that's been driven for decommissioning projects is on the rise. And as Callum had said, the idea of the offshore oil and gas industry is becoming slightly less appealing to the younger generation, whereas decommissioning and the energy transition is something that's really, really good to go for. And it's challenging. There are some really, really tough things to take out this infrastructure and structures that were not particularly designed to be removed after this amount of time.
Absolutely.
It's exciting.
Very good, very good. I'm going to come back to you, Michael. I'm going to nip back to John. He left us for a little minute. He came back. You're here. The innovation piece. Let's talk about innovation and technology just in our closing section here. John, a lot of this, as you're talking about, going into old fields, limited data, post-it notes saying "good luck with this" in old project folders. A lot of this requires new thinking and real sort of nimble thinking. Also, in in project delivery, but also in this sort of innovation and pushing forward with technology. What are you guys doing with regard to innovating technology?
Yeah. I think a good example, I like examples, is the work that we, again, sort of back end of last year, beginning of this year, that we supported Repsol on the tartan well abandonment. In fact, we will be presenting that at Callum's decom work in a few weeks' time. Our
All
engineer,
ties together.
yeah, absolutely, it's a close knit community.
Mm-hmm.
So they are, I mean, back in the day, I suppose early 80s, the UK was very much the centre of excellence for subsea wells, and that growth, the supply chain was all really brought to fruition here, and then it was exported externally or internationally. Sorry, but now where we find ourselves is we've got to abandon those wells, and when you go back and look at them, there's fairly primitive subsea trees. Certainly don't look much like subsea trees these days. In the structures that were put on them are big and cumbersome. It's all diver intervention. So you get that. So our engineers have got to work on their sort of expertise, how we get back into this. But we also work very closely with the supply chain and our key vendors. So to identify the tooling we need, see if it's out there, and if it's not, our expertise isn't particularly making downhole tooling or BOP support frames, wellhead, hot tapping to get through the trees. That has, as there's specialist companies out there who can and have the expertise to do that. So we also work closely with the wider supply chain to put together all that tooling, and then obviously engineer and manage its implementation on these wells. And the tartan work was an excellent example of that, and something that both ourselves and I know Repsol as well are very proud that we were able to overcome some significant challenges, and we'll be able to implement that on the further work that needs to be done.
Very good. Thank you for that, John. Michael, given the business that you're in and how how quickly it evolves, pushing forward with technology, you guys must be well into R&D and looking for the next, the better, the faster, the more efficient. Anything you can share with us that's not going to get you into trouble that's on the horizon, technology-wise?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a few things really that we're working on at the moment. When Decom started, we had our two sides of the business, and that's sort of where we stayed. But for now, we've also been approached by so many different clients that have seen the demand, like working with us, and have asked us really to work with them to provide more. So we, as a company, are now looking into the broader tooling spectrum where we can enhance the package that we deliver to try and minimize the amount of contact that these vessel contractors have to deal with. We're trying to minimize the headache for them and also increase the workload for us and really support on these projects and make a difference. Some key R&D, yeah, we developed our C1 46-inch chop saw last year, but also happy to announce working with a really strong key client of ours in the North Sea, the development of a new tool, our C1 32 chop saw, which is a mid-range between our most readily available tool and the 46. So this will cut, it's built in mind for conductors and also wellheads and things with the P&A market in mind. We have actually just started cutting steel this month on that tool, so that will be ready to go in about June time. I'm excited to get that tested. But it's allowed us to come to the market and solve an ongoing problem for us, which is buoyancy, and trying to make these robust tools practical to use directly on the ROV subsea. And this has given us the opportunity to actually get our tools to a point of near neutral buoyancy in water so that we can actually be off the crane and flown subsea with the ROV with minimal intervention. So it's a really exciting time for us.
Thanks for sharing that with us. We love a scoop on this show. We love a scoop. That is brilliant. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. We can speak with you all day about the project experience, particularly in Decom, and all the great stuff that both your organizations are doing. John, I'm thrilled to bits that we made it tech-wise, and we got you on the show. Thank you for giving up the last half hour of your lives with us and sharing that wee bit of insight. If you liked what you heard, John Anderson, Commercial Director Wells at Exceed, you can find him on LinkedIn and reach out and connect. If you liked what you heard from Michael on all that Decom Engineering are doing, please get in touch. He would love to have a conversation with you. But gentlemen, for now, thank you so much for your time, and have a great rest of the week. See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks.
We'll
Cheers, Michael.
John and Michael go. Next, we are over to our Market Watch section of the show. We love to bring you a bit of market intelligence and market update. And we've in the nearly 3 years we've been running this show. I think Westwood Global Energy Group have been with us for just about every one, which is lovely. And we welcome for the first time Yvonne Telford. Hello, Yvonne. How are you?
Hiya, I'm good. Thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me.
It is lovely to have you with us today. Now, we've had many of your colleagues on this show before, but this is your first. I have been told this is what we've been building up to. This is the big event.
I don't want to let anybody down already, you know.
Not at all. Yvonne, thanks for coming. I realised the other day when we were having our chat that we bring people on from Westwood, analysts, and we never find out really anything about them. So we're going to change that today, if that's okay. We usually just come on and say, tell us where the rigs are moving to, tell us about projects, and thanks very much. That's it. But your title, Research Director, Northwest Europe Energy Market Intelligence. What does your role comprise, and what does a typical day look like, if there is a typical day?
Yeah, there is no typical day. No, it sounds quite a grand title. My background is from industry. I spent many years in the service sector and with oil and gas companies, Apache and CNR. Then I've moved into the sort of research and consultancy side. I've been with Wood Mac, and I've been with Wood Mackenzie now. I was with Wood Mackenzie, and I've been with Westwood for 7 years. So I don't know why I've not been on. But I work in a slightly different product group to Teresa, Mark and Vaz, who you've had on before, whereas they've been very much supply chain focused. I look after more perhaps the sort of E&P side, looking after everything from looking at production forecasts, commercial angles, M&A activity. So yesterday was very busy covering the Ithaca Eni deal, for example. So a lot of that, basically everything, my colleagues cover the sort of the deep dive into exploration and appraisal, and I cover basically everything else. Everything else, which now includes Decom, of course.
Of course, absolutely. On that, what is the word on the street? What is the latest and greatest in Decom and in the sort of wider energy markets?
Well, Decom, what can I say? It's a difficult one it's not as certain. I think the big thing I find with Decom is the certainty piece. Whereas with a new field development, for example, once the FID has been planned, things are fairly certain. The biggest aspect, I think, the challenge that I hear on the service sector side and within E&P companies themselves is the glaring uncertainty of when is this tidal wave of spend going to happen in the Decom world. And perhaps, Eric, if I just fire in the slide that I brought, just the two charts. So I'm kind of probably going to do something slightly different. So apologies to everybody listening that is looking for a market update. I'm kind of going a bit rogue on it and really just go straight to the charts. I'll just throw up a couple of charts, and it's really just giving a little bit more in terms of the tsunami of activity that's looming. And this is just looking at the UK. Everywhere else in the world is a similar sort of piece. The chart on the left is something I think most people have seen from like some OEUK, NSTA. Yeah, every research firm kind of does a cost projection, and talks about the billions of spend that's coming, the 25 billion in the next 10 years, the $20 billion in the following 10 years of expenditure. But it's really tough for the sector to really understand what's behind that, what can happen and what the expectation is. And honestly, if I could actually predict that, I probably wouldn't be sitting with you today, Eric, because I'd be somewhere sunny climes you know, in Mexico as well, you know, but perhaps
$20,000 an hour for your time.
well, that would be good. Unfortunately, it's not so certain, you know. So what I've tried to do and what we've done in the past is just try and link a little bit more granularity to that spend, you know. So what I've done here is just shown it's a chart of the number of wells that we have in the UK, and they're linked to the fields. Now, this is a moving target, so it's a snapshot in time, for example. So what the chart is actually showing is a split of the number of wells, and what I've done here is linked the wells to the fields. And what we do behind the scenes is that we've got production models that are linked to economic models. So what we can do then is look at our view of when those fields are going to cease production economically. So they can change based on operating cost assumptions, oil price, you know, many factors. And what that can do with certain fields is it can move a field from a 2026 COP date out to 2028, perhaps 2030. But then what that allows you to do is actually see the impact. So how many wells is that particular field carrying? So rather than just saying there'll be X spend or X number of fields, it's how many wells is potentially coming in that market. So this is just a snapshot in time on our base case view of the COP date. So this is the number of wells per year that will be available for P&A. So again, the other factors of uncertainties that brings with it is in terms of, well, how long after COP does an operator get round to doing the P&A campaign? How many wells are associated with it? What's the best way of it? And again, what it shows you, over 3,000 wells potentially needing COP'd, huge numbers. But what we are bound by is kind of sort of certain sort of finite sort of points in time in terms of kit and equipment that's needed. So for example, the number of rigs that we have in the UK sector, there's, you know, my colleague Therese has you know, done many presentations and given warnings on the exodus of rigs from the UK sector. So, you know, if just looking at perhaps the grey bar there in the chart, it's looking at the subsea wells, and just looking ahead looking at the 2023 period, say, so for 2023, 10-year period through to 2032, we'd be perhaps looking at, I think I've got the number here, 445 roughly subsea wells. And if you just say there's 21 days to abandon a well, it'll change. More technology will come through with the good work these guys at Exceed and Decommissioning and the like are doing. But you say 21 days per well, that equates to 25 years worth of work for plugging and abandonment, right? That's just the subsea wells. If you then look at, you know, what we're carrying there in terms of numbers, the platform wells, and I split out S&S wells kind of separately for another piece of analysis we did previously, you know, you're looking at the numbers of wells there and say you can do those ones a bit more efficiently at maybe sort of 7 to 14 days per, you're looking at anywhere from another 25 to 52 years worth of work just on the P&A piece. So when you start looking at those sorts of numbers, I think it brings a slightly, you know, a mind-blowing kind of imagery in terms of the scope of work and how much work is there in this kind of sector.
Hey, listen, it's always great to have you with us. I think we'll need to tell Alex Middleton that you are now in the top requirement for analysts to come on and be with us. Well, it's been really insightful, and I'm guessing you're making the same offer to as any of your colleagues have made. If anybody wants to extend this a little bit further, just get in touch. Yvonne Telford, you can find her easily on LinkedIn and extend that sort of depth of conversation around analysis on this particular topic.
Yeah, be really interested to you know have some more conversations in the space.
Listen, it's been fantastic. Your debut performance has been excellent. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's brilliant. Yvonne, we'll see you again.
Thanks a lot, Eric. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Isn't this great to have this sort of focus on decommissioning? As Michael O'Neill said earlier, there was at one point in all of our careers a sort of dirty decom badge added on to all of this. But look at the excitement, look at the innovation, look at the energy that's going in around this, and new branches of expertise and focus on decom coming out just about everywhere we look. On that, our next guest is going to be telling us about something really exciting, which is growing in its sort of application and growing in its importance, which is the subject of women in decom. Please welcome to the show, Brittany Uve. Hello, how are you?
I am very well, thank you.
It is good to have you with us.
Absolutely.
The very first time I met you, I said, because I've got a fascination with people's names being said properly. I said, is it Huve? And you said, well, it's actually Uve, but people say Huve all the time. So
Or-
there you go. Anyone watching this show who calls her Brittany Huve, it's Uve.
There we go. You've got
There
the
we
French there.
It is lovely to have you with us. How
Thank you.
are things at Elemental Energies HQ?
Very good. Very busy as normal, but
It's normal.
yeah, delighted to be on and talk about something different today.
Yeah, indeed. I know it's
Yeah.
wonderful. Right. So anyone that knows Brittany knows that you are one of the most. I don't like the term busy because it sort of conjures up disorganized, but you're one of the most occupied people that we know. But not satisfied with being severely occupied in all the elements of doing what you do in your domestic life and in your business life, you've decided to join in on a wonderful thing, Women in Decommissioning.
Yeah, absolutely.
WID, right?
Yeah.
So do you not have already a shortage of hours in the day?
Well, I mean, previous to this, I was also very much involved in the PTA, so it's almost like you just get involved.
Take one
but
out, take one in.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I guess what I'll do is talk just a little bit about elemental energies and I guess why I got involved in this in the first place.
Yeah,
so I guess I mean, you've had a few people on your show before, Mike Adams, our CEO, and Willem as well, of course. So I guess in terms of decommissioning, at Elemental Energies, I guess we've been part of the well decommissioning since 1996. I think if we go back to our legacy businesses, which of course are Synergy Wells, Norwell Engineering, and we've got a really strong technical team. We've got Willem Boone, who of course has been on your show as our head of technical wells, and he came from Spirit, of course. And we've also got a really strong, I guess, project and operational team, and we've got a dedicated division to decommissioning and low carbon at Elemental Energies, and that's headed up by Julie Copeland. We also work on really exciting and interesting decommissioning projects around the world. We've recently completed I guess it was an integrated facilities and well decommissioning project offshore the UAE. And I guess why that was so exciting and interesting for us is we deployed an array of, I guess, quite innovative technologies and techniques to, I guess, plug deep, challenging wells. And actually, we wrote about that in the OGV Decommissioning magazine. So you can read more about that there, and a little bit more on the technical side.
Very good, very good. So yeah, you guys are doing great things in the space. And in fact, I feel sorry because Willem actually put a really good question up for Callum just as he left.
Yes.
So we will try and get that question to Callum later. So,
Great.
so you're doing all this amazing work with Elemental in the sort of Wells Decom space and beyond. How did Women in Decom, how did you get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So last November, I attended the OE UK decommissioning conference, which is at the Fairmont every year. And I guess as Elemental Energies, we had a stand and we were there meeting clients, etc. And the Women in Decom had a stand. And there was Taylor and Teresa, I think, were who I met on the stand. And I was talking to them and finding out a little bit more about the initiative. And they, at that time, were looking really to grow the team, grow the roles in the committee. So I thought, you know what, being involved in the well side of the decommissioning through our business, that it'd be a great area to be involved with. But also, I do like arranging events on top of everything else, good events. You've been to maybe one or two of our events. And I thought I could add that element, you know, give that back to this. And I just liked, I guess, the nature of supporting women and seeing where I could help.
Brilliant, fantastic. So what would you say if you were to sort of summarize the mission of Women in Decom? What is the mission? Yeah,
I guess I'll go back to why the founding members, who are all play a role in the decom space, why they created it. And I think they felt from attending industry events or awards or panel discussions that there was sometimes a lack of female representation, and there's not a lack of females out working there, but maybe just underrepresented at these type of events. And also possibly looking at more female mentorship situations, and maybe even having role models. So they saw that there was something that a group like this could really help with. So I guess going over to our missions, really looking to promote and elevate. We often talk about that, promote and elevate women in decommissioning is, I guess, a fundamental mission. I guess looking at the actual sector, the decommissioning sector is fascinating, whether that's the wells, the facilities, the subsea, the vessels, and it will be a key focus, as others have said, in the UK. For the next 20, 30 years, but also around the world in mature basins, whether that's Brazil or the US or Australia. So really, we want to promote careers in decommissioning, whether that's technical or non-technical, and also promote this to younger females coming into industry or even out of school, that this is an exciting place to be. So again, that's an area we want to look at. I mentioned mentoring. So right now we are looking at building a network of mentors and mentees through our online social media platform. We've put out some calls to see if anybody's interested, but also at our event, which I'll come on and talk to you soon. So very soon we'll be kicking off our mentor mentee, I guess, make it more official and kick that all off. And I guess just in general, we were looking to put a support structure in place, having good events, engaging events for men and women. This isn't just women. We want to involve men in these discussions as well, of course, and really to have a platform to talk about our experiences, our successes, our obstacles or challenges, and really just learn from each other, help each other out at these types of events.
Very good. I love it. I absolutely love it. As well as yourself, you have a range of women in decommissioning on the team already that have credibility and experience and are powerful people. Who are some of your colleagues on the in the group?
Yeah. Well, I could name them all, but there are 10 of us. We are a 10-strong team. So I guess I will maybe summarize. I'll come on and talk about sort of our panel and who spoke at our first event. But we're a 10-strong team representing operators in our group, the supply chain and the regulators, all, I guess, with a passion for what we're doing, all keen to support the initiative. And I guess some might think that's quite a big committee, but as you say, we're all extremely busy in our professional careers. We're all busy in our personal, whether that's family or personal lives, and I guess we want to work to the strengths of the group. So we all have a role to play, and sometimes I'll be extremely busy arranging this event, but somebody will take over and lead the next event, or somebody's responsible for the mentoring, or somebody really wants to help in the committee look at our social media and get what we're all about out to the world. So we all have a place part to play, and it's great to be part of that committee as well, and it's good networking, it's good knowledge sharing, etc. So what we'll do is we will do a bit of a meet the team on our social media platform over the coming weeks, and you'll get to see who's on the committee there.
So there's a Women in Decom LinkedIn page that people can join.
Yes.
Is there a website yet?
Not yet. We're working on it. We're absolutely working on it. There is our LinkedIn is probably the best. I mean, either message myself. I'm absolutely happy to guide people to the right place. And it's called just Women in Decommissioning on our LinkedIn. You can follow us there. We'd recommend you do that, and you'll be able to hear news and stories and about the events that are coming up. But like I say, you can ask myself as well. I'm happy to field questions after.
Brilliant. So I don't know if we could call it. Would you call it a launch event? You had a kind of launch event at OUK last month. Was it launch?
I guess our launch was at the OUK last November, really. But as terms of events, yes. So I loved arranging this event. We did it in 3 weeks, which was quite a feat, but we did it. I quite like a tight deadline. And we hosted it at OEUK's offices, and they were brilliant in helping support the organizing, the planning and the promoting of the event, which was fantastic. And it's a great event space as well. Jenny Stanning of OE UK, she was our panel chair, and she's fantastic at these. I'm passionate about the topic as well, both decommissioning and supporting inclusion and women, which was great. On the panel, we had Pauline Innes from NSTA, who's great, had a very fascinating career. We Taylor Erridge from Fisher Offshore, and Taylor was one of the founding members, and again, also represents, I guess, young emerging professionals as well, and she's absolutely fantastic. We had Teresa Monroe, who was Repsol and has just become COO at OPRED, and again, one of the founding members of the group, so that's great. And we also had Mike Smith, who is the Wells Superintendent for BP, and he founded Men as Allies in which and gave such a great story and why he did this, and it's now really taken off in BP, and they're using I guess the skills that this brought globally, and he was great to have on our panel again, showing diversity and inclusion. It was great to get the male perspective and really hearing how the men and allies work. I guess what worked so well about this event is everybody was just relaxed. We created a lovely, relaxed environment, open and honest. There was a lot of audience participation. And following, I guess, the panel, we had a speed networking session. But really, what we wanted to gain from that is, what do people want out of this? We wanted to gain feedback and what would success look at our next event. So we have lots of ideas for our next event. And then we had some nice refreshments, of course, like you need to do. And everybody left really feeling uplifted, positive, that they'd gained really good contacts, that there was this community that they could come and share and be really honest and open with. So our first event, I guess, exceeded our expectations. There's around 70 that attended. So
We've set a high bar.
we've bar, but that's good. I quite like that. So
Yeah, quite right. And as this
absolutely.
grows and starts to just inflate, it's
Yeah.
going to be wonderful. Brittany, clearly you have you're in a group of 10, and there's maybe combined hopes, but what are your personal hopes for this group?
Yeah. I mean, I guess for myself, I've spent 20 years of my career more on the top sides, integrity, uh, I'll just say not in maybe the decom well space so much. So I'm learning very, very quickly. I find it a fascinating side of the business. So I guess personally, I'm loving the networking opportunity, learning from those who came, hearing their experiences. But I guess I quite like giving back as well. I've like I say, I've been in the industry for over 20 years now, and feel, I guess, I can share some of my experiences and insights with the younger females. There's a lot of younger females, which is great, and I can help guide them if they need it, or give them some ideas on how to navigate their careers, and hopefully we can do that at some of our events coming up. I know Calla mentioned that we'll be at the Decommission Week in May, 20th of May. We've got a workshop, and we'll be spreading some more information about that in the coming weeks or so. But we also are going to host, hopefully, a bigger and better even event in June, and it ties really nicely in with, I think it's the 23rd of June, is Women in Engineering. And I thought that would be a great opportunity to thread in some of the real life stories and case studies. And what we want to do is, those who attended our event in the audience, we want to open this stage to them. Some, maybe they would like to share their stories with us, and those listening and those who couldn't attend our event, we want to look for captivating stories or challenges or experiences that people have faced specifically in decom. That was some of our feedback. We want to get into the heart of decom and hear about the members that come. So we're going to have a big focus on that at our next event, hopefully bigger, hopefully even better. It will be hard to top the OVE UK I guess facility and everything, but we're working on it. We will try, and hopefully everybody that comes again, and we spread the word, and we have a bigger community that we can gain more knowledge and insights from those new people who come along.
Absolutely fascinating story, and brilliant. I'm wishing you and all of your colleagues and everyone involved all of the best in this, and maximum support. If we achieved nothing today, we did one good thing. I hope I say her name correctly. Ayo Tomiwa. So Sanya, how can I join this group in Women in Decommissioning Brittany is talking about? And Taylor has come in and pointed it in the right direction.
Perfect.
So it's
Perfect.
working. It's working, right? So
Excellent.
yeah, it's happening. It's happening right in front of us. Brittany, to you and all of your colleagues, and to all of your colleagues at Elemental Energies, we wish you all the very best. And if we can make a little date, maybe 6 months' time, come back in and
Sounds
check
good.
in with you and see how it's going, right? Because I think this is
Perfect.
pretty special what you're doing.
It
Thank you
is.
so much for sharing your
Thank
time
you.
with us today, and we'll see you again.
See you
Ta-ta.
again. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Wasn't that great? It's amazing to see what's going on the sort of new angles of modern decommissioning. We've reached the end of our show today. I'm going to say, because it's probably the best pointed and most rounded question. We are going to award our winner of the day question to Willem Boon van Oxy. How would Callum want to rephrase energy transition? Perhaps he can share some thoughts on ever growing. So we will be in touch about your prize, Willem. So congratulations to Willem. Thanks to all of our guests today for taking time out of their schedule to share their insight and stories with us. And thanks for being part of this, everyone who watched it. This is all about creating a big digital energy community. And thanks for all your involvement today and interaction. We look forward to seeing you again on the 30th of May, where our special show is going to be on it's OGV Energy Live, the Innovation and Technology special. I'm looking forward to it already. Have a great week. Have a great weekend when it comes to you. And thanks for joining us again today. We will see you again. Bye-bye.